Have you ever looked at someone in their 80s, still moving around with energy, talking with clarity, smiling like life still has 1,000 joys left in it, and thought, how do they do it? Aging is something we all go through, but not everyone experiences it the same way. While many seniors slow down, face daily discomfort, or gradually step back from the things they once loved, there's a rare group, a small, powerful 5%, who seem to age on their own terms. They don't just live longer, they live better. These people aren't chasing youth. They're not trying to reverse time or compete with anyone. What makes them different is how they've managed to hold on to some key abilities that most people lose well before their 80th birthday. And the most fascinating part? These aren't flashy, headline-making achievements. They're quiet, everyday superpowers, simple but deeply meaningful signs of health, independence, and inner strength. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things only 5% of seniors can still do after 80. These 5 things aren't just impressive, they're indicators of something much deeper. They point to physical resilience, emotional balance, and mental sharpness. And if you or someone you care about is over 80 and still doing any of these things, recognize how special that really is. Let's jump right into number 1, moving confidently without support. We're not just talking about walking, we're talking about brisk, independent movement, the kind that shows coordination, muscle strength, and self-trust. This could be walking down a sidewalk without needing to grab a railing, walking through a grocery store without leaning on the cart, or making it up a few stairs without asking for help. Most people don't realize how much goes into something as simple as walking. It's not just your legs, it's your balance, your posture, your vision, your reaction time, your brain keeping everything in sync. And for the majority of people over 80, even just a short walk becomes a challenge. That's why walkers, canes, or wheelchairs become more common. But in that small percentage of seniors who are still walking briskly and independently, it tells us a whole lot more than meets the eye. These individuals often share a few things in common. They didn't stop moving just because they got older. They kept walking, stretching, squatting, even if it was just in small ways. They stayed active, and more importantly, they stayed consistent. They didn't just rely on occasional workouts. Their everyday lifestyle included movement, taking stairs, walking the dog, gardening, or dancing in the living room. Take John, for example. He's 84, lives in Arizona, and still takes his morning walks without missing a day. He says it's not about exercise, it's about rhythm. He gets up, puts on his sneakers, and walks the same route around his neighborhood, rain or shine. He greets the same neighbors, sees the same trees, and gets the same feeling of being alive and in motion. For him, that walk is his way of telling his body, I'm still here, and I'm still going. And here's what's interesting. Walking speed is actually one of the best predictors of longevity. Studies have shown that the faster and more confidently a senior can walk, the better their chances of staying independent, avoiding falls, recovering from illness, and even living longer. It's not about racing. It's about the smooth coordination of multiple systems in the body all doing their job right. So, if you or someone you love is still walking with a steady stride, not shuffling or hesitating, that's a huge win. Don't overlook that. Celebrate it. Because independence and movement isn't just physical, it's emotional. It means you're not afraid to move through the world on your own 2 feet. Now let's talk about number 2, getting deep, uninterrupted sleep. This one might surprise people, but it's a huge deal. As we age, sleep gets trickier. Aches and pains, frequent bathroom trips, anxiety, medications, they all interfere. Most seniors wake up multiple times during the night, and some barely get enough deep sleep to feel refreshed. That's why so many older adults feel groggy in the morning, struggle with memory, or just can't seem to get going. But there's that small group, those rare 5%, who still sleep like their bodies remember how to fully relax. They go to bed, and they stay asleep. No tossing and turning, no lying awake for hours, no waking up at 3 a.m. wondering why they're wide awake. They wake up in the morning feeling rested, not just relieved the night is over. How do they do it? Usually, it's not some magic formula. It's a series of small habits they've stuck to for years. They go to bed at the same time. They limit caffeine. They wind down at night with quiet, peaceful routines. And maybe most importantly, they've learned how to let go of thoughts that don't serve them. They're not lying in bed stewing over regrets or worrying about tomorrow. There's something truly healing about sleep that goes uninterrupted. It's not just about rest, it's about restoration. That's when the brain cleans itself, the body repairs tissues, and the immune system recharges. And when an 80-year-old can still move through sleep cycles naturally, that says their internal systems, hormones, nervous system, breathing, and digestion are still balanced in a rare and powerful way. Let's take Marlene, age 86, from Oregon. Every night, she follows the same gentle ritual. She dims the lights at 8, puts on soft music, drinks a warm mug of tea, and reads until her eyes get heavy. She doesn't bring her phone into the bedroom. She doesn't watch the news right before sleep. And she swears by this one rule: no arguments or stressful conversations after dinner. She says that by the time her head hits the pillow, her mind has already decided it's time to rest. And night after night, she sleeps deeply. Her family says it's been that way for years. No pills, no tricks, just rhythms that she respects. If you're over 80 and still waking up refreshed, that's something most people would envy. You're not just lucky. You've likely created the conditions for deep healing. And that's a rare gift. Now let's move to number 3. Keeping short-term memory sharp and reliable. This one is huge, especially because memory is one of the first things people start to worry about as they age. Maybe it's forgetting where you put your keys, struggling to remember a name, or walking into a room and not remembering why you went there. These things happen to almost everyone eventually, but after 80, they become more frequent and more frustrating. But among the rare 5%, there are seniors who still remember the details, keep track of appointments, carry on conversations with clarity, and rarely lose their train of thought. And no, it's not just because they got lucky with good genes. What they have in common usually comes down to daily habits, not magic, not miracles. These are people who have stayed mentally active for decades. They've read books, done puzzles, played strategy games, taken up hobbies that require thinking, or kept journals. They've maintained friendships and had regular conversations. They never stopped learning or asking questions. In other words, they never allowed their brain to go on autopilot. Meet Sharon, 85 years old, from Michigan. She plays bridge every week, reads 2 or 3 novels a month, and volunteers at her local library where she's responsible for organizing the monthly author talk. She remembers dates, phone numbers, and even the names of the authors from years back. When someone asks her what the book was about, she doesn't just give a vague answer. She gives a full summary and even tells you what she thought of the ending. Sharon's memory didn't stay strong by accident. She feeds her mind. She gives it challenges. She uses it like a muscle, and because of that, it hasn't faded the way it has for so many others her age. Now, let's be honest. Everyone has moments of forgetfulness, even in their 30s or 40s. But what separates someone like Sharon from the rest is consistency. Her brain isn't running on fumes. It's still fully engaged with life. And when you see an 80-something-year-old asking sharp questions, remembering names and faces, or recalling stories in detail, you're seeing something very rare. There's also a deeper benefit. A sharp memory helps preserve your identity. It helps you stay connected to who you are, to the people you love, and to the things that matter to you. And that's why this ability is so precious. If you're someone who can still remember what you had for breakfast, where you put the electric bill, or what your grandson told you on the phone last week, don't take it lightly. That kind of clarity isn't common. It means your brain is still functioning at a high level. And it shows that the choices you've made, what you read, how you socialize, how you deal with stress, they've made a real difference. Now, number 4, having regular, pain-free digestion. Okay, we're going to talk about something that doesn't always come up in conversations, but it absolutely should. Because when it comes to quality of life, your digestion plays a massive role. And for most people over 80, it's a constant issue. Constipation, bloating, discomfort, bathroom emergencies. These are incredibly common, but they're not inevitable. That's why it's so impressive when a senior in their 80s says, "I feel fine down there." No laxatives, no fiber powders, no digestive aids. Just smooth, reliable, regular bowel movements, every day or every other day, without pain or effort. That's not just luck. That's the result of years of consistent care. Let's talk about what goes into that. First, hydration. Seniors who digest well tend to drink water throughout the day, not just when they're thirsty. Second, movement. Even just walking, gardening, or stretching helps stimulate the digestive system. Third, food. Not complicated diets, but simple, real food. Fruits, vegetables, grains, moderate portions, and foods they know their body responds well to. And just as important, routine. Their body knows what to expect. They eat at the same times most days. They avoid overeating. They don't snack late at night. They listen to their gut, literally. Take Edna, age 87, from Georgia. Every morning she starts her day with warm water and lemon, eats oatmeal with blueberries, and takes a walk around her property. She's not on any digestive medication, and she says her system has run like clockwork since she turned 70. She swears it's because she doesn't eat junk food and avoids stress like the plague. And you know what? She might be onto something. The gut is sometimes called the second brain for a reason. When it's healthy, the rest of your body tends to feel better, too. You sleep better, your mood improves, and your energy stabilizes. But when your digestion is off, everything feels harder. So if you're over 80 and your digestion still works smoothly, if you're not constantly adjusting your diet, popping antacids, or dealing with discomfort, that's rare, and it's a powerful sign of internal balance. Your muscles, your nerves, your gut bacteria, all of them are working together like they're supposed to. This isn't just about avoiding discomfort, it's about living with ease. And if you've achieved that, give yourself credit. That's not a small thing. That's a foundation for everything else. Let's move on to number 5, feeling spontaneous joy and laughter. Now this one might not sound like a physical ability, but it absolutely is. Because the ability to laugh, really laugh, and feel joy without needing a reason is something that many people lose as they age. Life gets heavier. Friends pass away. The body starts to hurt. People become more cautious, more guarded, more serious. But not the rare few. The 5% still find reasons to smile. They still laugh at corny jokes. They still giggle at silly things. They don't take everything so seriously, even though they've been through just as much, if not more, than anyone else. This kind of joy is deeply connected to emotional flexibility. Seniors who can laugh freely tend to bounce back from challenges more quickly. They don't dwell on the negative. They don't hold on to resentment. And they don't need everything to be perfect in order to enjoy the moment. Think about that for a second. If you can laugh at a mistake, smile at a stranger, or feel gratitude for a sunny morning at 80 or 90 years old, that says something beautiful about the state of your spirit. Let me introduce you to Wallace, 88 years old, living in California. Every day, he watches a short comedy video online and sends it to his kids with the caption, "Still laughing." He's known in his community for telling the same 2 or 3 terrible jokes over and over, but everyone laughs anyway, because his joy is contagious. Wallace says, "When you're my age, you can either laugh or complain. I choose laughter." And that attitude has kept him connected to others, emotionally healthy, and remarkably resilient. Laughter lowers stress hormones, improves circulation, and even boosts immune response. It's not just fun, it's medicine. And those who still laugh easily in their 80s are often the ones aging in the healthiest way possible. If you can still find joy in a small moment, if you still chuckle when something surprises you, if your heart still feels light sometimes for no particular reason, that's a treasure. Hold on to it. Let's take a moment now to reflect. We've just talked about 5 powerful abilities: moving confidently, sleeping deeply, remembering clearly, digesting well, and laughing freely. On the surface, these might seem ordinary, but when you look deeper, they're anything but. These are signs of a body that's still working in harmony, a mind that stayed sharp, and a spirit that's remained open. If you or someone you love is doing even one of these 5 things past the age of 80, take that as a sign, not just of health, but of excellence, quiet, lived-in excellence. That doesn't mean there haven't been struggles. In fact, these rare seniors have usually faced just as many setbacks as anyone else. The difference is in how they responded. And that brings us to something just as important as the 5 abilities, the mindset behind them. Because none of these things happen by accident. They're built on choices, daily, consistent, sometimes hard choices. For example, seniors who still walk briskly usually didn't stop moving just because it got hard. They adjusted. They did what they could. Maybe they couldn't run anymore, but they walked. Maybe their joints ached, but they stretched. They stayed in motion even when slowing down would have been easier. Those who sleep through the night. They built healthy routines. They protected their evenings. They chose peace over stimulation. They made rest a priority instead of an afterthought. Those with strong memory, they kept learning. They didn't let the world shrink around them. They stayed engaged, read the paper, joined conversations, asked questions, played games, stayed curious. They didn't say, "I'm too old to remember." They said, "I want to keep my mind active." The ones with healthy digestion, they treated their body like it mattered. They didn't starve it, overfeed it, or punish it with fad diets. They just gave it what it needed: water, fiber, movement, and time. And the seniors who still laugh out loud, they didn't let the weight of life crush their lightness. They looked for the joke. They found reasons to smile. They didn't deny the hard parts, but they didn't let the hard parts be the whole story. In every case, these rare seniors made choices. Not always dramatic ones, but consistent ones. They took care of themselves not to look younger, but to live better. And that shows up in how they move, sleep, think, digest, and feel. Let's zoom out a little further. Why does it matter so much that only 5% of seniors can do these things? Because those 5% are showing us what's possible. They're living proof that aging doesn't have to mean decline. It doesn't have to mean giving up. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. Aging comes with real changes, some of them hard, some of them scary. There are aches that won't go away, memories that fade, people who are no longer there. There are limitations that arrive without warning. That's all true. But what's also true is this: you still have power. You still have choices. Even if you're not in that 5% right now, you can take steps to move closer. Maybe you start walking more, or adding one new brain activity to your routine. Maybe you drink more water. Maybe you just take 5 minutes a day to laugh at something that makes you smile. The point is, it's never too late to add life to your years. Your body might be aging, but your choices can still bring strength, clarity, and joy into your life. Let's go back to something we mentioned earlier: walking speed. It's one of the most reliable indicators of aging well. Researchers have found that seniors who walk even just a little bit faster than average tend to live longer, recover more quickly, and avoid major health complications. Why? Because walking involves coordination, strength, heart health, and balance, all working together. The same is true for sleep. Seniors who get deep, uninterrupted sleep tend to have better immune systems, lower risk of depression, and better memory. Your body repairs itself while you sleep. So when you're sleeping well, it means your systems are still capable of deep, natural recovery. As for memory, it's not just about remembering names or phone numbers. It's about staying present. It's about keeping your connections alive. When your mind is sharp, you're still a full participant in your life, not just watching it go by. Healthy digestion might seem like a small thing, but it affects your mood, energy, sleep, and even how your brain works. An unhappy gut can make the whole body feel sluggish or sick. A healthy one supports everything else from the inside out. And then there's joy. Joy is what keeps the heart open. It's what gives meaning to all the rest. A laugh at 85 years old is no small thing. It's a declaration that the spirit is still alive and well. Now let's talk about how you can use all this. Maybe you're watching this and you're already doing 2 or 3 of these things. That's fantastic. Keep it going. You're in rare company. Maybe you're doing one of them but struggling with the rest. That's okay too. You're not alone. Or maybe none of these things feel familiar right now, and you're thinking, "That's not me anymore." But here's the truth. That doesn't mean you're stuck. Every single one of these abilities can be improved with time, effort, and patience, even after 80. Especially after 80. You can start walking more by setting small goals, maybe just to the mailbox and back. You can improve your sleep by turning off screens earlier, dimming the lights, and setting a calming routine. You can sharpen your memory by doing puzzles, having more conversations, or reading something new every week. You can improve digestion by drinking more water, eating more real food, and keeping a regular routine. And you can invite more joy by choosing what you focus on, by laughing at silly things, by staying in touch with people who lift your spirit. These aren't overnight changes. They're small steps. But small steps taken daily? That's where the transformation happens. Let's take a closer look at what aging well really means, because it's not just about avoiding illness or staying out of the hospital. It's about presence. It's about being able to move through your day with ease, focus, comfort, and even joy. And the rare seniors who can still do that after 80 have something to teach all of us, no matter our age. Here's something important. Aging is not a decline, it's a transition. It's the shifting of energy, priorities, and habits. And in that shift, there's still opportunity. The 5 rare abilities we've talked about, mobility, sleep, memory, digestion, and joy, aren't just traits you either have or don't have. They're cultivated. Think about a garden. If you plant the right seeds, water them, give them sunlight, and care for them, you're going to get something beautiful over time. But if you neglect the soil, stop paying attention, or assume it'll take care of itself, things wither. The same goes for aging. The seeds are your habits. The water is your consistency. The sunlight is your attitude. The seniors who thrive after 80 didn't get there by accident. They planted those seeds years ago and kept nurturing them, even when it wasn't easy. Maybe they had setbacks, surgeries, loss, stress, but they kept tending to their health, their relationships, their peace of mind. And that effort shows up in small but powerful ways. Let's return to the idea of joy for a moment. In a world that often expects older adults to slow down, to fade into the background, to stop dreaming or laughing or trying new things, it takes courage to stay lighthearted. But that lightness is what makes the difference. When a person over 80 still finds things to look forward to, still makes jokes, still smiles at the small stuff, that's more than personality. That's resilience. Take Darlene, age 89, from Washington State. She says she starts every day with 2 questions. What can I be curious about today? And who can I make smile? That mindset has carried her through hard times. She's lost people, faced health scares, and gone through financial stress. But she still finds something worth smiling about every single day. She says it's not because her life is easy. It's because she chooses to look for the good in it. And that choice has kept her emotionally strong, socially connected, and mentally young. Because yes, even past 80, you can still feel young in spirit. Now let's connect all of these points. The seniors who are still walking confidently, sleeping well, remembering clearly, digesting easily, and laughing freely. These people have one thing in common: engagement. They are engaged with their lives. They're not just watching time pass. They're participating. They're doing what they can, with what they have, where they are. Even when their bodies change, they stay connected to what makes them feel alive. Whether it's a walk, a conversation, a book, a joke, or a moment of gratitude, they find a way to be present. And that's something we all need to remember. Aging well isn't about being young again. It's about being fully here, now, with all the wisdom and depth you've earned. Let's not forget how rare this is. Only about 5% of people over 80 maintain all 5 of these strengths. That means most don't. Not because they're lazy or didn't care, but because life is hard. Illness, injury, trauma, and circumstances can take a toll. That's why, if you're part of that 5%, you should recognize how special that is. And if you're not there yet, you should feel encouraged, not discouraged. Because these traits aren't a finish line, they're a process. Something you can still move toward, step by step, even now. And it's not about perfection. It's about progress. You don't need to master everything at once. Maybe your sleep's not great, but your digestion is. Maybe you don't walk as fast, but you still laugh like you're 20. Maybe your memory isn't as sharp as it used to be, but you've built a bedtime routine that gives you rest and peace. Every one of those things counts. They all add up. Here's something else to keep in mind. It's never too late to inspire others. Just by living well, even quietly, you give hope to your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors, and even strangers who watch you from across the street or down the hallway. When people see a senior walking tall, smiling freely, and living with intention, it makes them pause. It makes them think, maybe I can age like that, too. And that's powerful. That's leadership, not with a title or a microphone, but with the example of your daily life. That kind of influence lasts longer than you know. It sticks in people's minds. It shapes how they treat their own bodies and their own futures. You become a living reminder that age doesn't equal decline. It can also mean growth, strength, and presence. So no matter where you are on your aging journey, remember this: it's never too late to take one more step toward wellness. One more stretch in the morning, one more mindful meal, one more laugh with a friend, one more moment of deep, restful sleep. Those little steps aren't small. They're signs that you're still choosing to engage with life. And that choice is what separates the average from the exceptional. Let's bring this all together. After everything we've discussed, mobility, deep sleep, strong memory, healthy digestion, and spontaneous joy. Maybe you've recognized some of these traits in yourself, or maybe you've seen them in someone close to you. Either way, these 5 things are more than milestones. They're markers of a life that's still active, alert, and alive. If even one of these is still present in your life after 80, you should be proud. That's not common. That's not ordinary. That's something rare, and it's worth celebrating. And if you're working toward these traits, then take heart, because every effort matters. Every healthy decision, every good night's sleep, every walk around the block or shared laugh is a step in the right direction. And don't underestimate the power of intention. One of the reasons only 5% of seniors maintain all 5 of these strengths is because many people simply aren't shown that it's possible. They don't know that deep rest, good memory, strong digestion, and emotional resilience are still on the table, even in their 80s and beyond. But now that you do know, you have the power to do something about it. Even small changes add up. A little more movement, a little less stress, a few more whole foods, more time outside, more water, more laughter. These aren't revolutionary steps, but their impact can be enormous. And here's something we haven't talked about yet: self-permission. Many older adults stop investing in themselves after a certain age. They stop trying new things, stop learning, stop making space for themselves, as if life is meant to shrink the older you get. But what if the opposite were true? What if aging well meant expanding in new ways, mentally, emotionally, even socially? The 5% who thrive, they don't apologize for wanting to keep living fully. They read, they laugh, they stay curious, they forgive, they adapt, they make time for joy, they make space for rest, they keep learning and teaching. And above all, they give themselves permission to matter. And so should you. Let's take a moment to reflect. Out of the 5 rare traits we've talked about, brisk walking, deep sleeping, sharp remembering, smooth digestion, and genuine laughter, is there one you feel strongest in right now? Is there one you want to improve? Whatever it is, let that be your focus this week. Write it down. Take action on it. Track your progress. Tell someone about it. When you make even a small decision to grow, to strengthen, to improve, you're refusing to settle. You're declaring that this stage of life still holds value, that your time still matters. And it does. If you're someone who can still walk confidently, sleep soundly, remember names and details, digest without discomfort, or find joy in everyday moments, then take a moment today to feel thankful. Not everyone gets to feel what you feel. Not everyone has the strength you have, and you earned it. But don't keep it to yourself. Share it, whether it's with friends, family, neighbors, or even online. Your story, your strength, your experience, it can give hope to someone else. And that matters. It truly does. So, as we wrap up this video, here's your final reminder. These 5 traits aren't about staying young. They're about staying engaged, staying present, staying alive in the moments that are still yours. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the strongest or smartest or most successful. You just have to keep showing up for your own life. That's what the rarest 5% do. They don't wait for a perfect day. They make the day meaningful by how they choose to live it. So ask yourself, what's one way you'll show up for your life this week? Will you go for a morning walk, even if it's just 5 minutes? Will you put your phone away at night and let your mind rest fully? Will you sit down to eat something nourishing, not rushed? Will you call someone who makes you laugh? Will you breathe deeply, sleep fully, or simply be still for a moment? Whatever it is, do it with intention. Do it because you matter. Do it because this moment is yours, and the next one too. Thank you for spending this time with us. If something in this video spoke to you, if one of the 5 traits stood out or made you reflect on your own journey, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments, what stood out most? What strength are you holding on to? And what do you want to build next? This has been SageGrains, and we're honored to share this space with you. Until next time, keep living well, keep showing up, and keep reminding the world that age is not a limit. It's a story, and yours is still being written.